You're listening to KJAS Jasper, also KFAH Pineland.
This is paid-for programming, which may not represent the views and beliefs of this station, its management, and staff. Listen at your own risk.
You are listening to Not on the Payroll right here, 107.3 FM, KJAS. We want to welcome you to the show. I'm your host, Jay Sharp, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Kerry Thomas. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir.
If you guys haven't been over to our YouTube channel, over to our Facebook page, please go check it out. We've got a lot of interviews. We were able to, this week, interviewed Judge Kenneth Weeks over in Newton. He's the incumbent, and he is running again. Also was able to interview Leonard Bubba Powell. He is running for Precinct 4, I think it is. I
believe you're right.
In Newton County as well. If you haven't seen the interviews, it's over at YouTube or on Facebook. Get over there and check it out. You can go to notonthepayroll.com. You can check us out there. I want to apologize to everyone tonight. We have run into a little bit of an issue on telephones. Tonight we won't be having call-ins, man. As much as I've heard everybody tell me that you're going to be calling in or you want to call in and that type of thing, had some issues with a telephone company.
Wasn't on our end. It was with the American Telephone and Telegraph. Don't get me started on those people.
Yeah, AT&T. So they've kind of dropped the ball a little bit. But nonetheless, hey, neither here nor there. We're not going to belabor the point. Not going to have any call-ins tonight. And we are going to move forward with what we've got scheduled for our topics. We've got a lot of topics that we're going to be digging off into, from politics and religion. If you are just tuning in, please go over to YouTube. Find us on YouTube, or go to our website, notonthepayroll.com. That's the quickest way to get to our videos, and then go subscribe for us if you would. We're trying to get to 50 subscribers. But Kerry, tell me how your week was, man.
Well, it wasn't apparently as interesting as yours was. I noticed that you wound up with some new ink.
I told you.
I of course, am a non-ink person, because at some point I may have to get buried in a Jewish cemetery. So I will not get any ink in my lifetime that I plan. But tell me the significance.
Jewish folks can't get tattoos?
They cannot. But Book of Leviticus talks about no scarring or tattooing, and they check Jewish folks before they are buried in a Jewish cemetery to make sure there's no scarring or...
What about like amputees, though?
Well, I don't think they count. I don't know.
Are we talking
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm not Jewish, and I'm kind of glad.
So tell me, and I was looking on your Facebook page, and I noticed on there one of the inks that you got was of a gorilla.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigar, and I'm sitting there going, huh? What's the significance of a gorilla smoking a cigar?
So do you know have you heard the term spirit animal?
I have.
Have you heard this?
I have.
Okay, so I don't know if I necessarily know enough about spirit animals, but I have been referred to on a number of occasions as an angry gorilla by some of my loved ones. And real close to me.
Are two of them in this
maybe so.
This facility?
Yeah, maybe so. But so the idea was to have kind of a yin and yang process in this tattoo, because the gorilla is actually not only smoking a cigar, but it's holding a daisy by the
I noticed
stem.
the flower. I noticed the flower. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out the whole. I couldn't get past the cigar in the gorilla's mouth there.
Well, he's.
I'm assuming it's a cohiba. I'm not for sure.
Potentially angry. He's sitting.
A potentially angry
gorilla.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes you just need to sit down with a cigar and just look at flowers, you know what I mean? Just to kind of calm down.
And cool out.
Yeah, it's like
chill out, as the kids would say.
I don't know if kids say that anymore. Kids said that in the 90s. Hey, if you just
go show you when I was teaching. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you were just tuning in, check us out at notonthepayroll.com. You can't call in this week. Sorry about that. But we want to kind of dig into some of this stuff going on in politics here in the local area. Obviously, SRMPA money. If you want to know more about that, we sat down with Anderson Land, who is the city councilman We also sat down with former Mayor Mike Lout. Two pretty fiery interviews there.
I saw Mike's, and Mike was stirred up. He was stirred up. Yeah,
and I mean, rightfully so. I mean, there's a lot of questions. You know? And it seems like the more that the onion is peeled, the more questions you have. Because
exactly.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because the company Kramer Services Group is actually like a subsidiary or like an under company of what their larger mother company is, which is a water well drilling company. So,
whoa! Let me stop you right here.
Yeah,
the Broadband company is his father company or mother company is a water well drilling company.
So if you need
so have they done anything with Broadband before? Is there any history of Broadband before? Or is this something just brand spanking new?
To my knowledge, there is no history of Broadband.
So we've just hopped from drilling wells to Broadband.
Well, let me just say it like this. I've placed phone calls. I've placed phone calls to the mayor of Jasper.
Right.
I've placed phone calls to Councilman David Schultz.
Right.
Michael Daniels, Laura Golden. I have not received any phone calls back as it pertains to that. Maybe they just, I don't know. I don't know if they think because I'm doing a radio show here that I'm somehow kind of like an arm of KJS. I want to let everybody out there know that I'm not an arm of KJS or a leg or anything like that.
We don't get a nickel one from Mike Lout. Not
exactly.
A nickel one,
so,
not a nickel one from KJAS.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole objective of what we're doing here tonight is, and what we do every Thursday night, the idea is to, it kind of goes back to what I heard a man say one time. These towns are the way they are because this is how the people want it. And to me, sitting there chewing on this for the last decade, I thought to myself, okay, somebody needs to be in the business of informing the people in a deeper level. And I understand media is supposed to do that, and I think it's what KJS tries to do. I think it's what a lot of different media outlets try to do.
Right.
But from what I can tell, how can I put my voice in the mix to where there's actual, we dig in on some of this stuff and try to figure some of this stuff out to educate the people? Because to me, I believe as long as the people stay ignorant, as long as the people stay lazy, the towns stay just like they are.
Yeah.
But whenever we start talking about, $16 million being cut to a broadband service.
Oh, it's $16 million? I thought it was $8 million. Is it 16?
I think it's somewhere around. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 15.8 somewhere.
Really? I missed the number somehow.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's
more money than what I thought.
That's
Good
where it's
grief.
At. So, so the thing is, when you have SRMPA monies, and I don't know, some of you guys may be following along with this, but basically what has happened is this. The long and short of the detail, and you can go deeper as to in this rabbit hole if you go over to YouTube and check out, or go over to our website, notonthepayroll.com, and watch the interview with Anderson Land and watch the interview with Mike Lout. It'll give you some background that you may not be aware of how this came to be. Now, it's kind of a shift because we talk electric bills and all that on one hand,
right,
and then we turn around and talk about broadband
on the other.
So how they tie together is this. The SRMPA is basically, and this is loose interpretation, but it's basically a buying group of 3 cities. So in the process, they go to whoever they're buying their source energy from, and they get it as a discount because they're basically being able to buy as a larger group than just an individual, right? So in that process with them, there are rebates that come back to the cities or refunds that come back to the cities, okay? What the SRMPA group did, they decided they would split those monies up 3 ways, and they would go to the cities.
Right.
Well, the cities have the option of doing whatever they basically want to do with this money.
Okay.
Although early on there was a lot of talk about, doing refunds and stuff like that, or reducing the electrical rates for you people here in Jasper proper. Okay, if you live inside the city limits, that's what some of this money was talked about going toward. Well, over time, that's kind of lost a push. And so now we've, using it on infrastructure stuff. You can use it on all kind of stuff. And it's at the discretion of the city council.
The city council, right.
So in that process, now we're sitting on roughly, I say the city council has been sitting on roughly $36 million.
Right.
And so now they've made the decision to try to step off into the broadband business.
So let me ask you this, Jay. Is the city of Jasper in dire need of a broadband? Are you Wi-Fi deficient here in this town?
From what I understand, there's 4 or 5 other sources
for broadband
in the region.
So why do we need another one?
It's a great question to ask the other council people. That's a great question. So the other thing is this. Jasper used to be a part of DP's Texas Council of Governments.
Right.
Okay. But they recently switched over to the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission. Okay. Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission already is in the process of trying to procure so many millions of dollars to bring broadband to the participating cities.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So not only do you have competition out here, but you also have the SRMPA, and here's the paperwork. Some of the paperwork.
Do you know the cities that are in the STRPC?
I
think Nederland is one, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
I think Nederland is one, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe Port Neches, and I may be wrong on it, but I'm almost certain that Nederland is.
I don't know all of them, but just the fact that Jasper is in this group, and this group is pursuing this broadband side of things, it begs the question, why are we moving forward with this? Okay.
Yeah, especially if you've already got a number of broadband companies already. Why do we need one more?
Yeah, and to the tune of half of what's currently in the pot of about $16 million, and so it's very, very interesting. The more you dig into this thing, the company that is supposedly has been verbally awarded the contract is Kramer Services Group. We were talking about them a minute ago. They're the water well people,
right?
Up out of Wisconsin.
They're not local.
No, they're not local.
They are we couldn't get a local one. We had to go all the way to Wisconsin to get a company.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
How did that work?
Yeah.
Were there bids on it, or did they just choose this company, or what?
All right, so here's how it went down. So, all right. So digging into my history a little bit, I've worked in oil and gas for a number of years, about a decade.
Right.
And in that process, I've been around different studies, different projects that start out from the inception to completion. Okay?
Right.
One of the things that a lot of these companies will do, they will have what's called feasibility studies. Okay.
Right.
The standard on handling companies that come in and do your feasibility studies, those are normally in industry. And you can ask any contractor, any construction, anybody who knows anything about administration of oil and gas, your companies who do your feasibility studies are normally not the ones, they're not allowed normally to actually bid on the project.
Right.
It's a third party type situation. Now, I don't know if there's a law in there that states in the state of Texas, but basically what's happened is...
It sounds strange to me. It may be on the up and up, but it sure sounds strange to me.
Kramer Services Group was paid $450,000 to do this feasibility study. Once again, why did we spend $450,000 when the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Committee is already in the mix, already trying to pursue this? Why didn't we just saddle up with those guys? Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So $450,000 was spent by the city for Kramer Services Group to do the feasibility study. Basically, feasibility study, they do an entire research process where they go in and they evaluate an area on everything. what are the streets like? What are the houses like? What's everything like? They basically are looking at, the pros and cons, the things that they're going to have to do from an infrastructure standpoint. And so in that process, they turned in the feasibility study. Well, next thing you know, they're the ones who are awarded the job because they were ones who bid on it.
Right.
So they've got roughly, like I say, it's verbal awarded. The contract has not been signed from what I'm understanding on all parties. And once again, I'm going to say this loud and clear. I have taken the effort to call the mayor. I have taken the effort to call David Schultz. I've called and tried to contact Ms. Laura Golden and Mr. Michael Daniels.
And all these people are on the board. Is this correct?
They're all city council
people. That's what I mean, on city council.
They're on city council. I have received no communication back whatsoever from any of them.
Okay.
The only ones that I've actually heard from directly on the council has been Mr. Anderson Land.
Was Mr. Land in any of these meetings, or was he?
He was in some of the meetings. And
in all of the meetings, though? Was he in all of the meetings, though?
That's a good question. I think he was.
Okay.
I know he voted against this.
Okay.
At least that's that's my understanding.
Right.
Okay. Now, here's what's crazy. So we have a water well company that's going to come in. We're going to pay $16 million roughly to go out and set us up with broadband. I heard I have a really good source here in the region who ended up bumping into someone, and I'm not throwing any names out there or anything, okay, who's been employed by the Kramer Services to go around and kind of do some neighborhood checking.
Or are they looking at where they can possibly put in broadband, or who already has broadband?
I have no idea.
Okay.
All I know is this. What sense does it make if you're a company out here and you have not been awarded, you haven't been, the contracts are not signed?
Right.
What sense does it make for you to go out and hire employees to come around in that same community?
Have they bid? Have they bid, or do you know if they bid? The Kramer Company.
Kramer Company bid and got the bid.
Okay.
It's been verbally awarded.
All right.
So at that point, now that it's just verbal awarded, the contract hasn't been signed.
Okay.
So we're basically, then they've turned around and hired people locally or regionally or whatever as employees.
Right.
To go and start doing some research. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but all I can say,
this new broadband company, are they promising cheaper rates? What is the pitch here? What is the promise? There's got to be something. Are they going to try to be cheaper than, say, I assume AT&T is here in town?
Yeah.
Yeah. I assume, are they going to try to be cheaper than AT&T wireless?
I don't.
Or AT&T broadband?
I don't know what the selling point is. I don't know what the selling point is, but just simply for the fact that, to me, when you start a business, okay, one of the things that you do is you do what's called an evaluation.
Right.
Okay. That evaluation is to determine what the need is. Okay. All right.
Right.
So not only do you have 5 current companies who this is all they do.
Here, we're talking about here in the city. Yeah. Jasper. Yeah.
And
I'm repeating this stuff again because I want people to understand this. Yeah.
But not only that, the group that you're hooked up with to help with economic development and different things, and I don't know what all the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission does, but I'll be honest with you, we're a part of these guys, and I'm holding this up. And if you're on Facebook, hey, check it out. We're actually Facebook Live right now. You can go check out and see exactly what we're showing people. But here's the thing.
And see our lovely faces.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So here's my hiccup. If I'm going to come in, well, I can tell you this. If I'm going to come in and I'm a water well company,
right,
I'm going to take note of how many water well companies there are in the community.
Yeah.
To try to figure out what the demand is. Supply and demand.
Simple economics.
I learned this in economics.
Yeah.
I did not learn that.
I think so. You didn't learn a thing in my class.
I didn't learn anything in that class. Yeah. I was having a hard time with math at that point.
I'm well aware of that.
But neither here nor there. The point is, you don't go into a region without assessing where the need is. And to be honest with you, and I'm not throwing stones here because here's the thing. there's a lot of backlash on this. There's a lot of backlash on this, and there's a lot of tails getting ruffled right now. And I'm giving the city council an opportunity to get on the horn with me. We can sit down and do a quick interview. It doesn't have to be a long, exhaustive interview. I just want to know your position on it. So if Mayor Randy Sayers is out there and he is listening, if Councilman Schultz, Councilman Daniels, and Councilman Golden, if they want to sit down with me, it's of no cost to you. I'm not charging you guys for these interviews. Nobody has paid me a dime for any of these interviews.
No, we're not getting a dime for doing this.
Hey, who we are getting a dime from is two companies that actually support what we're doing. They support First Amendment and they support Second Amendment. That's exactly right. And that is Stewart Glass, and that is also our pawn shop here. Lake Area Pawn. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So both of those companies sponsor us just to sit here. And so, I kind of go around on my own dime to do these free interviews. And to be honest with you, I don't have an axe to grind with you. Do we have some disagreement? Will we have some disagreements? Potentially. But at the same time, you're entitled to your opinion. I just want to provide you a platform to be able to communicate to people, because it's obvious, one of the big accusations against the city is that, honestly, transparency is an issue.
That, and they don't listen to the people.
Yeah. So you said it. So having said that, we're going to jump off into some religion here in a bit, but I feel like this. I have tried to do my due diligence with this thing. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm hounding them. I don't want the council people to feel like I'm hounding them.
But you may have to. I hate to tell you, you may have to get results.
Well, maybe so. But I do believe this. If we don't have interviews with either one of these folks on the city council this next week, they're telling you what you need to know. Okay? And that's not I'm not trying to be ugly here or be sideways, but here's the thing. If we're all above board and everybody's wanting to say, hey, here's the reason why we did this. That's what I would like to hear. And you're not going to get a fight out of me, because here's the thing. It doesn't affect me. I live in Newton County.
Nor me.
Okay? Nor me. I live in Newton County.
I live in Orange County.
And you live in Orange County. And so, when this stuff starts falling in our lap, I have to sit back and go, okay, my whole objective here was to try to inform the people of what's going on. Try to inform and keep people up to date as to what's happening. And so anyway, so I'm throwing that invite out once again. You all have my telephone number, okay? You all have my telephone number, so give me a call this week. And let's try to sit down, man, because, it's only fair to the people that you are supposed to be leading here. And so I'm awaiting those phone calls as we speak. So having said that, I'll be honest with you. Life, in a way, has kind of made us complicit in things that are bad that we may not necessarily sign off on if it was a direct situation. Let me break the riddle down for you. None of us would go and stand on the side of a building with a Chinese person on that building and push them off to their death. None of us would. But the fact of the matter is, if you do much research on this iPhone, they had to put nets around the building so people would stop committing suicide, simply for the fact that the working conditions were so horrific.
Yeah.
Now, Carrie, you wouldn't push somebody off?
No.
You wouldn't push somebody off? I wouldn't push somebody off?
No. And I've been to China.
And you've been to China?
Yeah.
So you had an opportunity to push somebody off, and you didn't.
I stayed at the 28th floor, yeah.
So my thing is this. So what I'm saying is, we're complicit on some things. It's like Facebook. We're having to utilize it right now. As much as I can't stand Facebook, we're having to utilize it right now to get the word out to the people. Okay? And we will use it until we can figure out some other means or some other way.
Until we get enough people that'll subscribe to us on YouTube, which
absolutely. And
we
YouTube,
prefer doing.
And YouTube is still is owned by one of these good troops.
Yeah.
So my thing is this. we're complicit in some things. Now, you're not just going to walk up to me and hand me your driver's license, hand me your Social Security card, and all your credit cards.
Don't plan on it.
But we have no problem. We have no problem.
Unless you're a Nigerian prince.
Well, we have no problem letting Facebook take all of our data and sell it over to other companies.
Sure.
So in a way, we've been kind of lulled into a sleep of complicitness. Right?
Heck, everybody's doing it now, though, Jay. Everybody. Every
understand.
time you get on anything, they're doing this.
But
look, AT&T or whoever you're using, Verizon, is doing the same thing with your phone.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Here is my point. Here's my point. If you sit at home and you don't vote.
Right. Have you voted?
I have not yet. There's very specific.
You government teachers can get on to you.
There's very specific reason why.
You don't know who to vote for.
There's a couple of them I'm still on the fence on. I'm not lying. At the same time, I'm giving myself more time to research. But here's the deal. Voting is key. We're in the middle of voting right now. Okay, for the primaries. Most of us just want to sit back and let somebody else take the wheel and pray that Jesus takes the wheel in the long run.
Exactly.
But the fact of the matter is that plays into our complicitness of just letting it go because it's not our dog, it's not our fight.
We'd rather sit home and watch Netflix or
absolutely
Peacock or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So to me, here's my encouragement: we've got to figure out a way. And they've made it easy now. Actually, they've made voting easy now. Are you aware of this? When they give you your ballot, they actually give you a pen to fill it out.
Sure.
So you don't even have to bring your own pen.
Sure. And it was, I voted today, by the way.
Okay.
I voted today, and my only complaint is I had to use a fob instead of a pen on ours. Orange County has gone to all electronic now.
Well, see, you don't even have to touch paper now.
You don't even have to touch. Actually, you do. Actually, you do. You feed the paper into the machine, and it comes out.
Okay.
My biggest complaint was there were 6 running for governor.
Wow.
6 running for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
8 running for land commissioner.
Wow.
4 running for attorney general. 5 in my precinct running for county commissioner.
Wow.
And I'll be honest with you, I had a hard time making some decisions. And I had been looking over it and studying it literally for weeks now. And I finally decided on a couple of the races, I can't vote for any of these people.
Sure.
Next.
Okay.
Let's go on. I can't vote for any of these people.
But you at least showed up.
I voted.
You voted.
I have voted.
So to me, here's my encouragement, man. Get out there and vote. Go and do your duty. Because here's the thing. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. That is, you can sit there and run your mouth on a couch all day long, but if you don't go and you don't vote, it is a waste of good air.
So you know your precinct yet where you do vote?
Yeah.
Do I need to look that up for you?
No.
Okay.
I'm right around the corner.
And by the way, those of you outside of Jasper, in early voting, you only have tomorrow and Saturday to early vote within your community.
Right.
After that, if you're going to early vote, you have to drive all the way to the sub-courthouse here in Jasper.
Yeah.
Or wait until March 1st and vote at your regular polling place.
Right.
Because you're only allowed 3 days in your community to early vote here in Jasper County.
So the last bit of this bully pulpit will be this. Get out there and vote. Go put your vote in, man, because especially on these local issues, from governor on down, but especially on your your city councilman, on your
commissioners, especially commissioners.
Those races matter the most. They touch you the quickest. It is your duty, man, to get up and go vote. Listen, I'm all for live and let live, but by God, when it comes down to it, go put your vote in.
And and one I definitely voted for was for county commissioner.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I definitely had my mind made up on him.
Sure. Well, so to me, there's a lot to be said through all this. I mean, because we're just touching the tip of the iceberg of what's going on with the situation here in the city of Jasper. There are a lot of things going on throughout the county and adjacent counties. If you're out there and you see some things that's going on, it's kind of like the sheriff says over there in Newton County. If you see something, say something. So shoot us a message. Let us know. Let us know what you're seeing out there, and we'll do the best we can to kind of sift through it and try to figure it out. We're not going to be able to chase down every rabbit, but I promise you this, if it begins to crack open and it looks like it's going to be something of value to the people of the region, we're game, man, because I'm here. We're back. Yeah. And so this is what we were doing 10 years ago, and this is what we're going to keep doing until we're ready to lay it down.
Mike runs us off.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. So if you're just tuning in, you can go over to notonthepayroll.com. You can go over to YouTube. Please subscribe for us. You can also check us out on Facebook. Right now, we are Facebook Live. We will not have any call-ins tonight because we got issues with the phones up here at KJS. However, hopefully those will be fixed for us next week. 7 o'clock on Thursdays. That's where you can find us. We definitely appreciate our sponsors, Stuart Glass and also Lake Area Pond. Matter of fact,
I was going to come into Lake Area Pond today to look and see what they had. There was a wreck in front of my house today.
Are you serious?
Yes, and so I had to stop, and I kind of stood around, called the sheriff, and wait. They came pretty quick, but about the time it was too late for me to stop by the.
Well, I snuck through there the other day.
I want to see what they got and come in and say, hey, they got this and they got that.
I have been dying to find a Desert Eagle 40 caliber.
Really?
Found it.
Do they have one?
I got one now.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm sitting here going, I had one a long time ago.
Okay.
And it was
I remember that. I remember that. Gun. Yeah.
And and then I ended up selling it, and I've been kicking myself ever since then. So we went in the other day and we were looking for my son a gun,
right?
And we ended up finding him. I think it was a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm.
Okay, good gun.
What does the M&P stand for?
I don't know.
Man, you always got the acronyms.
I know, but I don't know it on all the guns. I can't keep up with the guns. There's so many new ones.
Are you kidding? Did you see how many different calibers you rolled off?
I know that.
Online?
But I've still been drooling over that 3-inch Colt Python that Colt has come out with. I'm just sitting there going.
Well, I can tell you this: if anybody's got it, they're going to have it. But
probably so.
I ended up walking out with both the Smith & Wesson and the Desert Eagle. I was like,
really?
Okay, I got to get these back. And it's a steel.
Have you shot the Desert Eagle yet?
It's supposed to be going this weekend.
Okay.
But it's steel frame, whole 9 yards.
Right.
It's slick. Yeah, it's slick.
Those Israelis can make a good gun, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. If you are looking for any kind of gun or weaponry or something along those lines, or you just want to peruse through fishing and archery and all kind of tools and all kind of things, go over to Lake Area Pond here in Jasper. They've got you hooked up, man, and they're easy to work with. Quick, easy, in and out. And here's something I would encourage you on. If you go over there and you stir trouble up, we may have to come put a knot on your head. So don't stir any trouble up. There's good folks over there at Lake Area Pond, and we appreciate them for sponsoring our show. We want to spend the last half of this show talking religion. We talked here a couple of weeks ago, and we dug in on some church stuff and preachers and all kind of stuff. It kind of gave some of my background, some of Carrie's background. But we wanted to take the last half of the show and really kind of break down some things that's been kind of in Carrie's mind here the last few days.
Well, Jay, I have to hop in here, and I'm just going to say this and let you go back. I was surprised. I have heard from that show for the last 2 weeks since we've done it. Really? Whenever I got in the car, people started calling me who knew me, who had my phone number.
Sure.
And people who later on found my phone number called me and talked to me about it. And I was just surprised at how many people have been hurt by their church, how many are upset about their church.
Sure.
And I'm surprised at how many people have been trying to protect their church.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are saying, well, we're all sinners and this is where we all need to go. And I says, yeah, that's true, but
sure,
you need to try better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just because we're all sinners and we all need to go there.
Yeah.
And it's true, we're not going to find a perfect church.
No.
Some of these people are not even trying.
Well, and that is true. And I think this,
And these are people who are getting a paycheck.
Well, absolutely. And my deal is this. I'm not trying to beat up on churches or anything like that. My thought process is it's more about the religious aspect, the cult aspect of it. Because I'll be honest with you, go look up the definition if you get a chance. Some of you got phones out there. When we get done, just look up the definition of a cult. Tell me if you're not going to one.
Well, years ago, I had a kid who you missed out on having to do a research paper in government and economics.
Sorry, they hooked me up in sociology.
Yeah.
In college,
and I had a kid who wanted to do a paper on to prove that their church was not a cult.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I says, go, have at it.
Yeah.
And about 6, 7, 8 weeks into their research, they came to me and says, "Can I change my topic?"
Yeah, because it looks like we're a cult.
Because he's sitting there going, we kind of have a cult-like activities going on here.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, what did you think? Did you think they were doing with the goats and the lambs, and the doves and chickens and whatnot? I mean, why did you think all them feathers was in the back? I mean,
so
I don't know, man. I think this. A lot of people look at the word cult as being a huge negative. Okay, and I don't. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like whenever I drive past McDonald's, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be some gastric issues later. That's how I look at that. You know what I mean? I'm driving by.
Same thing if you stop and eat Mexican food. Yeah.
Or Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honest to God.
I know she didn't loop Taco Bell into Mexican food.
Well, yeah. Taco Bell is kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
But the deal is, whenever I see those places, I don't have a negative response. I just go, I've eaten that plate before. And I know what's going to
happen to you.
It's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I don't look at churches. I don't drive past a church and become angry or enraged.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do.
I drive past and I get a little bit of indigestion in my stomach, and I'm like, yeah, I've eaten that plate before.
I worry, and here is why I worry. I see people who are putting their all into the church.
Sure.
And I wonder down the road if somehow or another they will get hurt. And some of these people are extremely close to me, and I do not want to see them hurt.
Well, I get that.
And it upsets me.
I get that.
It upsets me, and there's basically nothing I can do about it. And I'm afraid that someday I'm going to have to be there to help.
Well,
and I'm ready.
Absolutely. Well, I think this. I think church is a great place to come from. It's kind of like...
well, that's where we both came from.
It's kind of like East Texas. It's a great place to come from. You know what I mean? But you don't have to stay... I mean, and when I say this, I use this in a broad sense. You don't have to stay where you started, okay?
That's true.
You don't have to stay where you started.
That's true.
I have friends of mine who were... Matter of fact, a friend of mine growing up, his dad worked his tail off. They didn't have anything.
All right.
And he set it in his heart that he wasn't going to be like that. He wasn't going to struggle. And so consequently, over time, he got to a place where he's not struggling. His family doesn't struggle like he struggled. Right. The government cheese and government peanut butter and stuff like that, he got sick of. Okay? So you don't have to end up where you started. And so in the pursuit of righteousness, or the pursuit of the cross, or the pursuit of Jesus, your pursuit should be ongoing. A lot of people use church kind of as an inoculation thing during the week, or a kind of a pick-me-up, if you will, to remind us all, hey,
they also
we need
use
to stay straight.
They also use it like the country club. It is a good place for me to go there, and it makes me feel better, even though it doesn't necessarily make you feel better for the right reason. Well, does that make sense?
Yeah. And I know businessmen who go to certain churches because of the business implications or opportunities that may come in the process.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not every church is like this. You will find some nooks and crannies out here. You will find some small gathering places that are community-minded. But once you've gotten to the point to where you are, it's a machine. It's no different than your little company being bought out by a corporation.
Jay, when I hired on at Buna ISD, I was given the idea that everything the church ran the Buna ISD, a specific church.
Sure.
And
the one closest to it?
We won't talk about it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Is that Central Baptist?
No.
No, it's First Baptist of Buna. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody knows it.
Sure.
Everybody knows it. There's no secret to it.
Right.
And I thought, they're full of themselves.
Sure.
And I've been to a lot of different smaller towns, and there was an influence about the churches in town.
Sure.
Oh, no. Everybody who had anything to do with the school district
We're all a part.
belonged to that church.
Sure.
And we're talking about people who used to be members of another denomination would go and convert to that church.
Yeah.
It was political.
Yeah.
Plain and simply political. And I'm sitting there going, holy cow. I've never seen anything like this. I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad in some other places, but I didn't know it was this bad.
Well, I would say this, my encouragement comes from a place of pursuing your own walk with Christ, pursuing your own walk with the Lord. And sometimes that puts you in the setting of being in a church and being educated and being really kind of being mentored, if you will. But there is also a time where you move on from some of those things. Scripture says that for a season there's tutors and governors.
Right.
And then there's times when those go away. Right?
Exactly.
So to me, I'm sitting here going, how many of us have just stopped, and as long as the pastor pats us on the head on the way out and says, well done, my good and faithful servant, we feel like we're going to heaven.
Right.
Or we feel like we're going to wherever the afterlife is, And so to me, I'm kind of sitting back going, okay, where's the challenge here for us as individuals? Should we... Most of us don't study to show ourselves approved. Most of us don't dig into Scripture. Most of us kind of go back to the complicit thing. Well, that's somebody else's thing, But in the long run, there's a lot of folks out here who don't go to churches and still believe there is a cross, still believe there is a Christ, and still believes there's a salvation to be had. And my encouragement would be...
And are more biblically sound than everybody that's on the front row of First Baptist or First Methodist or First Assembly or First or whatever.
Sometimes that is the case.
Sometimes, a lot of times. A lot of times. I hate to say that. I have kind of a mixed take on that because I've met a lot of good people in the church. At the same time, church is not the answer for what's going on in the world today, and it's not for everybody. No, it's not. It's not, and unfortunately, we were talking about Billy Graham right there before the beginning of our service here, and one of Billy Graham's biggest regrets was that, and now this is where. If you don't know this, the Roman road to salvation, if you're any good Christian out there, you already know what that is. But basically, it's the walk through, repeat after me, become a Christian thing that you say when you become a Christian. Well, that was kind of perfected during the Billy Graham crusade world. This is done in the evangelical world. Those of you who are Lutheran or Methodist or Presbyterian or you have a different way.
Which is basically 1% of the population out here.
Well, it's when you go into the Catholic Church, it's even more.
Well,
yeah.
So still 1%.
There's more 1%. Well, we're talking about Jasper County.
Yeah, everybody's protesting something, right?
That's true.
You got everything from the Pentecostals to the Baptists. So, but my point is this. Billy Graham, who basically, and this is not a slam on him, this is repeating what the man said. He said one of his biggest regrets was that he did not have, when he would go in and bring these massive crusades into these communities, and he would have an altar call at the end, very moving sermon, and then an altar call at the end, okay? People would come up, they would give their life to the Lord by the repeat after me prayer,
right,
which is not biblical, but the repeat after me prayer.
Not, right.
And then from there, he said one of his biggest regrets was that he didn't have a place to plug those people in locally.
Yeah.
For them to be mentored and kind of discipled.
For them to go to church. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because after time, he saw that the attrition rate on those who were doing the repeat after me prayer was going. There was a huge attrition rate.
It was 80 to 90%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, so some of our foundation has gotten a little bit skewed or screwed up, however you want to put it. But in that process, we've basically said, hey, listen, come repeat after me and then have a seat.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, and then we only get up if you're going to pull that wallet out and you're going to put it in the offer plate.
Or we only care if there's a certain percentage that you give.
Well, see,
and the more you give, the more we care. That's terrible to say, but it's true.
It is.
It's terrible to say, but it's true.
It's true because I mean, here's the fact. If you want to take just a quick meandering of your church, okay, wherever your church is or wherever your cult's at, whatever you want to call it, but you know, if you want to just take a quick synopsis. Determine who the top 5 money givers are, and tell me they're not on the deacon board or something along those lines. Tell me
they're in leadership. Yeah.
They're in some form of leadership.
Sort of leadership. Sure, why not? And you know this is true.
Here's an easy way if you want to become, in most churches, if you want to get the good seats, we'll call it that. Just go in there, walk in first day.
Well, the good seat in the Baptist church is the back, but that's another story.
Well, neither here nor there. Cut a $10,000 check, drop that in the offering plate a couple times a year. Around here, you just bought yourself a seat.
You know, if you really are serious about this, there's a church in Orange County, and there's somebody who leaves $25,000 a quarter, but they are nameless.
Oh, wow.
They are nameless.
That's awesome.
On purpose.
But that's great.
Yeah, and
That's
in
cool.
truth, that's kind of the way it should be.
That's kind of the way, yeah.
You know, that's kind of the way it should be.
Well,
but so many people, when they throw that dollar in that plate, they're expecting something out of it. And that's terrible to say also, but it's true.
Well, I think everybody gives for whatever reasons there are, but I think we probably need to review what Scripture says about giving before we start giving. You know, I mean, Scripture talks about giving with a glad heart. I mean, for years I paid.
Paul talked about that. Paul talked about.
I paid my tithe.
Yeah.
Like my electric bill or my whatever.
Are we talking about the Book of Micah, the 10% there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I paid my tithe like a bill, and every time I go to write the check, I'm sitting there just like,
yeah,
this sucks, man. This is not good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so once I got to a point to where it was in my heart to give,
and once again, I am convinced the 10% is under the old covenant. I am convinced of that.
Well, yeah. But it's a great place to start.
Well, it's a great place to start if you have 10%. Or you have the willingness to do so.
Well, and it says to give as a cheerful giver, right?
But it doesn't say how much.
No, it doesn't say how much. In the New Testament, it doesn't say how much. But my point is, if you're looking for a place to start giving 10%. And then if you can afford 10%, start giving 10%. Just start there and give with a cheerful heart. That's the whole premise. The whole idea is to get people in a motion of giving. But unfortunately, what's happened is it's turned most of the people, or it's turned a lot of church leadership into whores.
That's true.
It's just what's happened.
Look, as we spoke about the last time, I don't know a pastor who has taken a job at a new church in which his salary did not increase. Yeah. The only way that it didn't increase, he was fired at the last church.
Okay.
And had to find a new job.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'll kind of digress here a little bit and kind of specifically talk about the angle that I look at it from, because, you know, we have not attended a fellowship in the last decade continually. I mean, we're not consistent in any way, shape, or form. And we just got to the point where we're like, you know what, we're better off for just trying to focus on our relationship with the Lord in a private way and move forward and try to figure this thing out, right?
All right.
And we have spiritual people around us who we could call and communicate with and from a mentorship standpoint.
Right.
But that's on an as-needed basis. And I'm finding that my life in Christ out here on my own 2 feet.
Are the people in the mentorship that you talk to, are they pastors themselves? Or are they somehow
They have been in some form of church leadership, that type of thing.
Okay.
Maybe missionaries.
Are they out of the business?
Some of them are.
Okay.
Some of them are. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, you know, do
they think they're better off being out of the business?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think this. I think if you look at the Christian life and the Christian walk as a journey,
right,
and you remove the weights of modern day American religion and that interpretation,
right,
then you just look at it as a journey.
Right.
Through life. And sometimes you're in the church and sometimes you're out of the church, potentially.
Okay.
There may be seasons for that. There may be seasons of learning and that type of thing. Scripture talks about there being seasons.
How are you on the professional clergy? I knew you grew up and a professional clergyman put beans and potatoes in your stomach when you were a kid growing up. Are you in favor of the professional clergy? I personally have a problem with it.
Okay.
I'm bivocational. I'm fine.
Okay.
Because I kind of look at it this way. What did Paul do? Was he a professional clergyman?
Sure.
Yeah. Paul was a tent maker.
Right. Right.
And some of these people in the Bible were not professional preachers. Jesus was not a professional preacher.
Right.
I don't really know what Jesus did.
I think
I have a problem with it because I think they get away. They get away from the common guy who's sitting out there.
I think there's two sides of it.
Okay.
Because I know people who will not trust. I know people personally who will not trust they will not trust a preacher unless he is full time.
Really?
A man who says that he's called by God but doesn't want to give up other vocations and focus solely on God and focus solely on his calling and the people that he's supposed to be leading. So I know there's people like that out there. I know there are other people out here who don't trust a preacher who doesn't have a job on the side.
Have a secondary job, yeah.
At the same time, I know some preachers in this county right now got other jobs.
Sure.
And the only reason that they are preachers is so they can collect a check on Sunday.
Oh, I believe that. Sure, I believe that.
So to me, I think there's two sides.
Yeah, there's two sides of every story, right?
There's two sides, as it is for me.
I kind of look at it this way, however, and one, I hate the megachurch.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely despise the megachurch.
Sure.
And this is coming from a guy who really likes a high church service, but
yeah. You like to dress up.
I do.
Put on the smell good.
I do.
Get the hat.
I do.
Go in there.
I do. Bow
do
tie.
you raise hands?
No, do not.
Don't raise hands.
No,
so
sir. No,
hands
sir.
in pocket.
Yes.
Stand up.
If it's a call for.
Kneel down.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not that. I'm not that kind now.
You're not that. Okay.
No, I'm not that kind.
Okay.
No.
You asked me a question specifically about where do I stand on it.
No, I'll answer you. I don't care.
No, you were asking me a question about where I stand on the vocational thing. And to be honest with you, I think it's this. I think I have met good men who were, and I'll say this, you will know the men who are full-time preachers. You will know the men who are of quality because their reputation will precede them.
Right.
Okay. Father Ron out here at the Catholic Church, reputation precedes him. Now,
we need to have him in. We seriously need to have him in. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to think that his and your and my theology are going to be closer than.
Maybe so.
I think so.
Maybe so,
or maybe not.
I can also.
But I think it's going to be.
I can also. There's another gentleman here who is a preacher, Gary Marshall. Both of those men, their reputation precedes them in this community. They're both full-time ministers.
Okay.
Now, granted, the priesthood requires that.
Sure.
At the same time, anytime you hear of what's going on with Father Ron, he's on the go doing something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? 4 people.
Right.
So at the same time, Gary Marshall, his influence.
What denomination is reverend or brother or whatever he calls it, pastor?
I think it's non-denominational. I would just
non-denom. Okay.
I think it's non-denominational. At the same time, so I've met good men who are full-time.
Right.
On the flip side, there was a season that I was like, man, this is crazy. I would much rather a preacher, and this was a season in my life, I would much rather a preacher have a job and come up here and work for free, do his deal on Sunday.
I'm not necessarily talking about doing them for free, but I'm talking about them having another job,
right,
so they can understand what the regular guy who's sitting out in the
so just from a relating standpoint.
In the pew knows what's going on. Yeah,
so
a relationship. Yeah.
Well, my thing is that season that I went through, got faulty quick because I was like, okay, don't muzzle the ox, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So start looking at these different deals. So I've met men who are ministers on both sides of this thing.
Right.
Okay, I've met them on both sides of this thing. I've met missionaries.
Right. Missionaries
who worked their tail off and managed to drag themselves to their little makeshift. What's the thing called?
Church.
No,
mission.
Makeshift church, makeshift pulpit, makeshift whatever it is.
Okay.
And preach and minister and try to take care of the people while having jobs.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have ever found anyone who has more. There's good and bad in the missionary world, okay? But some of the people that have touched me the most were missionaries.
Okay.
These are the guys who are, man, they'll climb up sides of mountains to get to guys on top and go sit with them for 6 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Or a month or a year or whatever.
Do you think we've lost our mission spirit in this country?
100%.
I know we have.
100%.
I know we have. It used to start off with our youth.
Yeah.
Our youth used to have a mission spirit. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
It's like we're afraid that our youth are going to get out and see something they don't want to see, or they might stub their toe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the deal is with that.
I don't either.
Because
I
used to do mission work in the summer as a kid. You know, look, when I was in seminary, one of the big deals we used to do during spring break was go preach at a mission church in the middle of no place.
Right. Yeah.
They don't hardly do this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it like they're scared to or something?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's almost like the writing's on the wall for the American church.
Oh, it's dead.
It's dead. It's not just dead. It's almost like the Lord's closing it down. You know, Elvis has left the building. It's one of them deals. Jesus left the building. And I'm not saying jump into home churches and all that stuff, and we've already discussed some of that. But what I will say is we're almost to a point to where it is necessity for people to go find their relationship with the Lord outside of church.
I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
I think is where we're at.
And I'm kind of like you. And I've said this before. I have tried and tried to go to church and tried. But either I got mad or I'm sitting there going, I'm getting nothing out of this.
Yeah.
Nothing. Why am I here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in some situations where I wake up on Sunday, I'm feeling good, everything's great. I go to service wherever it is,
all right,
and I come away angry, or I come away going, "We're all going to hell." Yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
A lot of us. Yeah.
I mean, we ain't far.
Yeah,
we're not far.
No, I believe that.
So, I tell you what, we're fixing to wrap this show up. But hey, if you haven't checked us out online, check us out at notonthepayroll.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Please go and subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube for us. Help us get up to 50 subscribers so that we can go live. I tell you what we're probably going to do here. We're going to go off the air here with 107.3. We're going to shut this part of the show down, but I think we need to continue on with some of this talk. If you want to go over to Facebook right now, go over to Not on the Payroll. You can go check us out at Facebook Live. We're on right now. We got a few other things we wanted to cover, but it looks like our hour has escaped us. And but here's the thing. We appreciate you guys for listening. You can listen every week on KJS 107.3 FM. You can check us out, like I say, all over the internet. NotOnThePayroll.com. You can check out all of the local interviews we've done. Once again, a quick petition out there to all of the city council people in Jasper. Call me. You got my number. If you don't, talk to your secretary. Maybe they do. Matter of fact, on top of that, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Stewart Glass for all of your glass needs here in Jasper, home or auto. Talk to Stewart Glass first. If you have a little chip or a ding on your window, roll in there. It's about $40. If I'm not mistaken, they fixed mine for $40, and it took less than 30 minutes. Knock that sucker out.
Beat that with a stick.
Absolutely. Especially with all these temperature changes, because sometimes you'll go out there after it's been cold, or you get out there and your deal's frosted over, and you pour that nice warm glass on there, and it's
correct. Yeah. Correct.
So check out Stuart Glass, but also on top of that, go over to Lake Area Pawn. I've talked to you about all the guns that I've purchased, and I am dying to purchase more. I don't know. It's already created.
It gets to be a habit.
It's problematic. Yeah. At the same time, they got great guns. They've got fishing equipment, archery equipment, the whole 9 yards, tools. If you got something you want to pawn, they can hook you up with that as well. But if you want to listen to us further, we're going to conclude this portion of the live broadcast on terrestrial radio, and we're going to Facebook here for about another 15, 20 minutes, and go to Facebook Live, notonthepayroll.com or Not on the Payroll on Facebook. Subscribe at YouTube. Thank you guys for listening.
Good night.